At the International Quilt Study Center and Museum, we do more than collect and display quilts. We study them to gain a better understanding of our history and world. People often think of quilts as simply functional or decorative, but they can be much more. Quilts are often an intimate part of people's lives, so they tell stories of individuals and communities. Quilts are history. We can study aspects of society, politics, technology, and globalization through these objects. The Reconciliation quilt reads almost like a social history textbook. The quilt was made in 1867 by Lucinda Ward Honstein of Brooklyn, New York. It documents events in the years after the Civil War. Blocks commemorate stories of domestic and social life in Honstein's community. By studying this quilt, we see a genuine portrayal of 19th century life in New York City that goes beyond what we read in textbooks. History usually focuses on the role American women played in the family, but they were also active outside the home. Family history for this quilt connects to the Woman's Christian Temperance Union, a 19th century social reform organization. The quilt was likely made as a 50th birthday present for Frances Willard, who was the second president of the WCTU. Quilts like this one highlight the importance of religion for some members of the early women's movement in the United States. Until American women gained the right to vote in 1919, they had to find alternative ways to express their political views. For some, that expression took shape in quilts. Even after gaining the vote, many women continued the tradition of voicing their political opinions and patriotism through quilts. Through quilts, we can see how technology has changed over the years. For example, the sewing machine was invented in the 1840s, but did not become a common household tool in the US until the last quarter of the 19th century. Women were almost immediately drawn to the machine for piecing, but only a few 19th century quilts feature machine quilting. Today, it is much more common thanks to long-arm quilting machines. Quilts reflect their cultures, but they can also reflect cross-cultural interaction. This quilted textile, a palampour, shows the effect of world trade on 18th century Europe, America, and Asia. As trade expanded, so did taste in clothing and interior decorating. Palampours made in India were signs of status and good taste. While most Europeans knew little about Asian cultures at this time, they appreciated the mysterious nature of the fabrics from that part of the world. Throughout history, quilts have also been used to mark significant occasions, memorials, and celebrations. The museum's collection now includes more than 120 quilts honoring those who died in the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001. With needles and thread, quilt makers expressed their grief and paid tribute to the 9/11 victims. Quilts have been made throughout history for joyful moments such as weddings, births, and graduations. Through commemorative quilts, we gain greater insight into the personal experiences of others. Quilts are also studied for their art and design. They inspire designers in graphics and fashion. While quilts have only recently been viewed as a true expression of art, many artists have embraced quilting and made it their chosen medium. Their artistry has helped elevate quilts from coverings on beds to masterpieces on museum walls. As we study quilts, we identify changing trends that tell us more about the collection. Types of fabric, patterns, and styles create general histories about when and where quilts were made. The University of Nebraska-Lincoln offers a unique master's degree and quilt studies certification program within the Department of Textiles, Merchandising, and Fashion Design. Coursework explores quilts and quilt-making traditions within the context of history, art, culture, and technology. Graduates go on to work as appraisers, curators, scholars, and more. You can read more about the Quilt Studies Master's degree and certification online. Quilting is a living tradition. People make quilts all over the world every day. In the US alone, there are more than 21 million quilters, which accounts for 14% of American households. The quilt market is a multi-million-dollar industry, and it is also an outlet for creative and emotional expression. The history of human experience, from families and communities to politics and business, comes to life in quilts.